Hey folks, welcome back to another Battling Brushes episode. This is going to be the second and final, I think, for this month at least, combat tutorial video for this little bad boy right here, Warhammer's Age of Sigmar. Now, last video, Rob went over the basics of combat, you know, movement and rolling to hit, rolling to wound, and then saving throws and that type of thing. And so today he's going to talk a little bit more about army composition and those war scrolls. So basically, I just wanted to show you real quick, this right here, people, is the rules. Very simply put, this is the rules for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So again, we're not talking about a whole lot of information that you have to grab a hold of with your mind powers. It's a very basic, very neat entry-level point for the game. So let's take it over to Rob so he can explain war scrolls and army composition a little bit better for you.
Well, here we are back talking about Age of Sigmar. And this week we're going to be talking about the composition of an army, which is considered a war scroll. It's a controversial thing with Age of Sigmar because Age of Sigmar is supposed to be, I believe, either the 8th or 9th edition of Warhammer Fantasy. But they've turned it into a skirmish game. So I'm going to explain a lot about that, and we're also going to look at stats and get a good idea for how the figures work and so forth and so on. So you guys can actually get a good look and a good feel on how you can take and work a war scroll into a campaign setting. You get an awful lot in the box, and I think this is a great beginner set. And Sam, like I'm going to tell you, Sam and I are going to give our review after the playthrough and what we think about the game. But right now, as a beginner game, I think this box set is absolutely fantastic for somebody that's never played Warhammer Fantasy or played it many, many years ago and want to get back into it. It is a perfect starting point, and if you like skirmish games, this is the game for you, and you're going to find out with what you get in the box, you get more than your money's worth. So let's get down to the book and take a look and see what you guys think. So as I said up top, today we're going to be talking a little bit about how you put armies together. And first of all, I wanted to show you all the stats and how this all comes together. It all comes together in a very great book that they put out. And this comes with the starter set. Like I said, with the starter set, you get enough where you don't have to really add to it. And if you enjoy it, you know, you can tinker around with it a little bit here or there and play different scenarios. You know, it's really up to your imagination with what you have as far as the starter kit. But just taking a look back here, and this is all full color, and it's just a wonderfully put together, and GW always puts together great sets as far as booklets. I mean, they're very informative and pretty much to the T. But let's take the Lord Celestin that Sam's working on. Now, before we were talking about, and I'm going to try to zoom in here. There we go. We've talked about move, how you move, how many wounds a character has, how much bravery they have, and how much their save is. But the real stats come down to the weapons that they carry. Like, for instance, with the Lord Celestin, he rides a mount. So the mount's weapons pretty much are as well explained in here, and you roll them at the same time. So as we were talking about in the prior rule video, here's your range, 2 inches, 1 inches. As you can tell, they are a melee attack type of animal. They get 3 attacks. Okay, the Lord's gets 3 attacks for his Tempest hammer. To hit, you need to roll over a 3. To wound, you have to roll over a 2. Now a Wren, what's a Wren? Well, I'm going to explain what a Wren is. If you have a save, such as the Lord Celestin has, +3, a -1 to your Wren would mean that you would have to roll 4s in order to save. And damage is how much damage that particular weapon does. So, as you can see, they have, let's just zoom out here a little bit. I'm trying to do this on the fly here a little bit. But each character has certain abilities, command abilities, such as Lord Host. And as you can see, if this model is your general and uses this ability, until your next hero phase, you do not have any battle shock tests. Now remember what we said about battle shock. That's where you roll your bravery, and if you roll over it, then you have a chance of taking off and leaving the battlefield. And of course, his mount has Storm Breath and Intolerable Damage. So you get a lot of different abilities that you can apply, but that's all built into the character. Now, how do you put an army? Well, this is one of the most controversial subjects of Age of Sigmar. And with people that are old-time fantasy players, this has been a very sore subject. But for a beginner, it shouldn't be a sore subject because it actually helps you. Now, the old Warhammers, and this is considered the 9th edition, I believe, and I'm just turning pages to give you guys a look at some of the things that you'll be seeing. I'm going to be painting him next week, and this Blood Secretor next week, as well as the Killigors, Killigraphs. So those guys will be all done next week, and I think you'll enjoy what we do there. But getting back to Warhammer Fantasy as a whole, which this is taking the place of Warhammer Fantasy. Warhammer Fantasy was always considered a regiment game, but now with Age of Sigmar, what you have here is a game that is basically now a skirmish type of game. Well, everybody started screaming, well, this is kind of like Mordheim. Well, Mordheim doesn't exist anymore. And they basically made it Fantasy 40K. For some people, that's really good. For other people, that's not good. And, you know, they're taken away from the purist. But for a beginner, for somebody, for some of you guys out there that just want to get something with your sons or daughters and want to sit there and build something, paint something, and then be able to play it and play it over and over again, this is the perfect time to do this, because the rules are very simple. A matter of fact, they're simpler than most board games, and I think you'll see that during Sam and I's live playthrough. But the big controversy is actually the War Scrolls themselves. The War Scroll battalions. There are no more points associated with Warhammer Fantasy. Everything is built off a War Scroll. It gives you the title of the War Scroll, the organization, and any abilities that happen with that. So in this box set, you get the Thunderstrike Brotherhood, the Stormcast Eternals, and on the left it'll list everything that comes basically in the box. So we're going to zoom in here so you guys can see that. And this is everything that Sam's building on his side. And this is what you'll see us play with, because Sam will be taking the Thunderstrike Brotherhood. And of course, he'll have certain abilities that'll actually come with this. So when he puts this on the field. Now the problem with this concept, it's nice. It puts everything together for you if you're a beginner and tells you basically go out there and fight it out. But say you didn't want to play with a unit of Retributors and you wanted to add another unit of Prosecutors. Well, it doesn't make sense because there's no point cost. So there's no balance. So you either go with this War Scroll and hope that they make a War Scroll that fits into your type of strategic value, or else you really can't do it because it kind of messes everything up. Now the rules just say, well, you keep adding units if you want, and the other person has a chance to respond and add their units, and you just fight it out. But you really don't know what the true balance is. But in fairness, these War Scrolls are very balanced. For the other side, the one that I'll be fighting with, The Goreblade Warband, this is everything that comes in the box. The Mighty Lord of Khorne, the Blood Secretor, the Bloodstoker, a unit of Blood Warriors, my unit of Blood Reavers, which we've already done, and one choreograph. And then I get my 2 abilities with it. So right out of the box, you've got 2 war scrolls, and then you can go at it. Now they've come out with numerous books and additional armies that you can go out and purchase. And that's really totally up to you guys and how you guys feel about this after you play it or see Sam and I play it for the first time. It really comes down to, is this something that you're going to want to invest in? Then if you invest in it one time, at least you have everything, but it does give you the ability to go out and buy books that'll have additional war bands, additional different armies, as well as the ability to change it up. You know, maybe some of the war scrolls I've seen that actually have where you can add another unit and make it a little bigger battle. So this basically all plays out in about an hour, and I think it's good for somebody that's never played this and doesn't have the bad taste in their mouth of some of the Warhammer 40k, some of the old fantasy where you had to suck thousands and thousands of dollars in. You don't have to. You could buy this box set, play it, enjoy it, and have more than enough to do numerous campaigns with it, and have enough to basically get your money's worth out of it, to put it plainly. So, you know, with the rules run through this, and then of course we're going to finish up painting everything, and then the live playthrough, I think we've given you guys enough where you can judge for yourselves.
And so there you have it. Those are the basics to understanding how to use war scrolls and understanding how to compose armies and that all kind of stuff. And it's actually pretty simple compared to how it used to be. Now, I myself have never played Warhammer Fantasy. I played Warhammer 40k, and I can attest that part of the fun of Warhammer 40k is building your army, maximizing your points, and all of that kind of stuff. So while people may not be too engaged with this whole idea of war scrolls and just simply being told what you can take with whatever war scroll you decide to go with, I can understand their dislike of that, because that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about 40k is building armies and maximizing the point levels to come out with the most effective army for the point level that you had agreed upon with your opponent. So again, I understand that, but at the same time, my initial thought is that this is a good entry point level for those of us that never got into Warhammer Fantasy, or just haven't ever taken the plunge into Warhammer of any brand. So there is that. So I hope that this combat tutorial part 2 has actually helped you understand Age of Sigmar a little bit better, so that when we actually do the playthrough, you have a better grasp of what's going on. So with that, we'll see you next week, folks. Thanks for joining us on Battling Brushes, and we hope that it has been informative and entertaining. We'll see you next week. See you on the flip side.
I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.